Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. And today I'm coming at you guys with an update for my 60 card Pendulum Gasoline. This list is fire. I kind of came to a conclusion since I don't have Magician Souls right now. And I experimented and had some ideas for the Infinite Negates, but ultimately it's a bit too cheesy for me and it requires a little bit more bricks and burning so much resources come into that when you could just play traditional pendulums and they do virtually the same thing. So I really don't think that I'm even going to do the Infinite Negate kind of build, and I kind of do want to play Magician Souls, but at the same time I don't want to have too many proxies because I'm already proxying the Buster Whelp, the Destruction Swordsman Buster Whelp, and I'm proxying Celine, so I didn't want to do a profile with full proxies, but that's probably the last card that I want from my list is Magician Souls. But this deck is really nasty, you guys. It can make so many crazy boards. Even before you even Pendulum Summon, you can do so much before you Pendulum Summon, so much before you even normal summon. This deck is very, very explosive. It's very, very powerful. Going first or second, it makes boards and it breaks boards. It's incredible. It eats through hand traps, even without Electromite, even without the Orcus engine. You know, there's just like this deck, even without the Guard Dragons, like the deck supposedly lost all this power and yet it's still so powerful. It's crazy, you guys. I'm going to show main, side, and extra. I'll greatly appreciate it if you check the link description box below. You'll see so many ways you could support my channel. Donations are greatly appreciated, especially for people who want me to build decks that I don't even have. That'll help me to actually get the deck so you can see the deck list that you want to see on my channel. Oh yeah, I also have Team Kings Against t-shirts too. Mediums and larges, they're blacks, and I have them for $25 a piece. Those are all ways that you could support my channel, or if you want to see a deck on my channel and I don't have the deck, you could send me some of the cards to help me to build it, and I'll do that for you, because most of the decks that you see on the channel, unless it's one of my favorites, I'm doing it for you guys. But anyways, with that out the way, let's go ahead and get into the deck list, you guys. There's a lot of explanations required because it is a 60 card list, and that might be unappealing to some people, but I've had numerous tops at competitive high level events with this deck to show that 60 cards really doesn't make a difference. So first off, we're going to start off with our best low scales. 1 copy of Servant and 3 copies of Magical Abductor. I'm going to go ahead and get into explanations a little bit later, but I'm going to lay out my cards first, and I'm kind of like in order of imperativeness. So I also played 3 copies of Magister of ENDYMION. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm going to get a little bit into explanations after. I want to try something different for this profile. 1 copy of Reflection. Not 1, not 2, but 3 copies of Mighty Master. Goodness, yeah. When we get into explanations, it's going to be crazy. I also play 3 copies of Master Cerberus, 3 copies of Chronograph Sorcerer, 2 copies of Jackal King. I'm going to stop here because this segment of the profile, these cards are very incredible. So not only are a majority of these cards spell counter holders, but they're also cards that interact with each other and they're kind of interchangeable. So obviously Master Cerberus is very, very interchangeable with cards like Magister and Mighty Master. It just generates a field presence that can hold spell counters, which is incredible. And that also allows you to have a valid target for Magister to summon himself from your scale. Mighty Master is actually really good in my list. I like it at 3. If you ever run into the problem with this deck where if you're playing the ZEFRA cards in it too, and you want to have ZEFRA at the scale, honestly, my recommendation is this. If you plan on ever Pendulum summoning ENDYMION and not summoning him off of Magister and Reflection, and also Servant, which is what I do most of the time, and even off of Celine, which are plenty of ways to summon him. But if that's still not enough for you, then don't search ZEFRA off of your Oracle or your Providence and just search ZEFRA Neo. It's literally that simple, so that way you can Pendulum summon your entire hand. If you want to summon level 7s, like, you know, the Magician level 7s, and you don't want to scale ZEFRA, then use your Oracle to search ZEFRA Neo instead. It's that simple, so you don't have a problem where you have a 7 scale and a bunch of level 7 monsters, so you can pin out your whole hand. But the other thing is too, like, this card can be special from all those cards, you know, from Magister, from Servant, from Reflection, and off of Celine. So even if you can't summon it, if you did search ZEFRA for some reason when you had one of these in your hand, you can still summon it out. But these cards are absolutely standalone. What's the other importance is they are spellcasters for you to summon your Celine and summon your Crowley Link and get advantage that way. And they also allow you to summon your Union Carrier because they're all spellcasters. So these cards are kind of like your bread and butter plays of the deck. They're honestly, most of the time, these are being used as your standard starters. What I really enjoy with the Magisters, even though most people might not like 3, is this card is literally Servant 2.0, because Servant will run out of targets, but this card can special summon from your extra deck and it can special from your deck. So in scale, when you resolve it with cards like Cerberus and extra deck or Jackal King, you know, like it just totally depends. Or like, let's say you like had an abductor in the extra deck, or you know, any card like that. When you resolve it to special summon itself and something from the extra deck, those cards will already hold counters. So you already have 2 spell counters on your field. Activate 1 more skill, you have enough. This card is like multi-faker times 10. It can summon multiple times, so you can pin summon 2 from your hand, or normal 1, pin summon the other one, and its effects and not hard ones per turn, where you can literally, on your opponent's turn, without leaving a board that can be super poly, even though you'd normally Buster Whelp, you can use this effect to summon out Jackal King and Endymion on your opponent's turn. Or you can summon out Reflection to bounce. Or you can summon out Magical Abductor for your follow-up plays. Or you can summon out Servant from it. Or you can, it's like, dude, I can continue. Like, it's so many cards that he can summon. It's incredible. Like, you can even summon out, like I said, Master Cerberus, so you can go aggressive for your next turn. So the card's just absolutely amazing. Like, Magister is incredible, you guys. Same thing with Servant. Servant can summon everything Magister can summon. I just like that his on-field effect is a lot harder to play around, because obviously this card's incredible, but it's at 1. But with this on your opponent's turn, which is what this deck wants to do, is play on your opponent's turn anyways, you can spam the board with so many different things, giving yourself follow-ups. You can summon your Servant. If it dies, it goes to the scale. You know, you could summon Jackal. You know, any of these cards except for Chronograph. You know, same with Servant. You can summon Servant on your turn. You can use Servant on your turn to bring out this, bring out this, bring out this, bring out Abductor. Remember, any monster that can hold spell counters. So there's a lot of things these cards can do other than just special Jackal King and Endymion, which is what most people do. Just kind of, it doesn't have to be big brain, but just use that hindsight to make sure that you're getting the card that you know is going to set you up if you already have enough negates. So these cards are just, like I said, interchangeable, very important for the deck. Let me go ahead and slide out these spellcasters. Don't forget about the interaction with Master Cerberus and Chronograph, and the interaction with Master Cerberus and Mighty Master. They're 2-card combos that are very destructive going second. You can easily just clean boards up. This deck is just savagery. And once you get your Magician Souls, it's going to be incredible, because you could do like Servant, Summon Abductor, Abductor Search Souls, and just, you've got 3 monsters on board before you even Pendulum summon. You already have Selene and everything. Like, it's crazy. So continuing. This next segment are the Pendulum Magicians. I'm playing a very small amount so that I'm not drawing too many of them. I'd rather search them on Pendulum Call. Pendulum Call is really incredible in this list for the simple fact that it's guaranteed high and low scales. With Electromite being banned, you need to still get your scales, and you can't rely on RNG factors of always just playing a bunch of draw spells hoping that you eventually draw into it. I'd rather just get a card that directly searches both of them, and Pendulum Call with the good hand is already going to generate negations, because you can search out Harmonizing, and you can search out White Wing, and this can be your tuner to make like Needle Fiber, to make Omega, to make Don Dragster. This can be your Abyss Dweller. Like, it's just so incredible. 1 Pendulum Call can get 2 negations. If you just have 1 extra monster on the field, these 2 can become Dragster and like Dweller, or Omega and Dragster, or, you know, Needle Fiber and Union Carrier off of just these, Needle Fiber and Union Carrier. Just so Pendulum Call is really powerful, and the Magicians are totally worth it. Just each one of these, I'm not playing Desires anymore, so I don't have to worry about losing them. But White Wing is definitely worth it. Also, just if you want to play Clear Wing fast Synchro Dragon, you can use White Wing and Servant to make that, which is another cool card you can play in the deck. But yeah, the Pendulum Magicians are just very integral for this deck. Very, very important. For ZEFRAs, I'm playing 1 Zefrath, 1 Zefra Niu, 1 Zefra Saitan, 1 Thubin, and a new addition to the deck is 1 Zefraxi. This card it's very, very searchable in this deck, and it allows you to make Union Carrier and also Needle Fiber. You normally just use these. So when you pin summon these, you use this to target him. You can chain block, make him a tuner, so that you can make either Needle Fiber or Union Carrier, whichever one that you want, because they're both Earth, they're both Worms, and this can become a tuner. So this card is just ridiculously good in this deck. It also lets you make synchro plays. You can make, for example, Chao Feng. If you want to make Chao Feng, I don't have one right now, and then you could target any of these to make them a tuner, so you could synchro for a level 7, make your Don Dragster, or you can play Shooting Rizar to make Borlode Savage Dragon on your opponent's turn, or use Shooting Rizar to synchro to Omega on your opponent's turn. There's just so many nutty plays this deck has. You don't even have to put a board that has 5 negates directly on it. I like to set up hindsight plays, so I like to leave like Absolute with IP Masquerena and Magister, and then leave out cards like, you know, if I had Shooting Rizar with Shooting Rizar, because then your board doesn't look that impressive, but you're going to play a lot on your opponent's turn. You're going to use Magister to special summon on your opponent's turn, Shooting Rizar to synchro with the Magister after you're done to make bigger plays, and you're going to use your IP Masquerena with your Absolute Dragon, link with that and your extra monster to Alpaloosa, and then summon Vortex on your opponent's turn. The way I play Pendulums is so different from traditional. I don't make my board on my turn. I set my board up to make it on my opponent's turn. I'm playing like Cristrons. I'm playing like, you know, like Synchrons, like where I'm using cards like you know, like think of how Synchron's can make what's that level 2? I'm trying to think of it. It's a level 2 tuner that lets you synchro on your opponent's turn. I'm trying to play like Cyframes. Like basically I'm playing more reactive Pendulums where I can make the board right now, but I'd rather catch my opponent off guard and make a board that can't be super polyed, and then summon my cards on their turns to disrupt their combos. Summoning Vortex on your opponent's turn is incredible. You can summon Oppo of IP Masquerena, linking with the Vortex, linking with the Absolute that you left. Use the Oppo to negate your opponent's cards. Make sure that your Vortex bounces one of their cards, interrupt their combos. Use Magister to summon Reflection, bounce a card, and then get your scale back. And then use like Shooting Rizar to synchro into like Omega and stuff. Like certain cards like Shooting Rizar I don't have in the list right now because I'm trying to find it somewhere. But like it's just so incredible what this deck can do. Or you can just make a 5 negate board turn 1. But I kind of like playing it that way. It's super reactive and it's really unorthodox. Like your opponent's going to be like, dang, like the negates are there, but I have to force him to activate the card to make the negate, and then I have to bait the negate. So it's just really, really powerful. So you have your 5 ZEFRAs, and then you have your 6 Magicians. Finishing up the list, I finish up the monster count. I play 2 Dark Worms, 1 Gate 0. This is an incredible card. It's a valid target for Needle Fiber, so by playing Perform Fall Adi Synchron, you can do so many synchro plays with it too, which is nice as that can synchro a lot if you play a lot more synchros in your extra deck. Some cards I just don't have, so like certain cards that I mentioned, I just don't have them, like Magician's Soul. Shooting Rizar is not there. I don't have IP Masquerena, but I will show you guys when we get to the extra deck how I would do it when I get those cards. But this card is basically a Needle Fiber target. What you're going to do is summon it off Needle Fiber and use this and the Needle Fiber to make Selene. So by playing this in your deck, Needle Fiber becomes a 1-card Selene. Selene is then going to special summon like the Endymion that you discarded off Pendulum Call, or you know, the Endymion that you overlaid for Absolute, etc. Like it's just so incredible. And even because it's better than other non-Pendulum spellcaster tuners, because even if you draw it, it's a scale, and also it has an incredible effect where you can target, like for example, ZEFRA Neo in scale, or Chronograph Sorcerer in scale, special it, and then synchro for Omega, or like Savage, you know, Warlord Savage Dragon. So it's just a really, really nice card. And then this is the Destruction Sword Buster Whelp. The other proxy I would play, you know, I don't want too many proxies, but the other card that I would add to the list is Magician's Soul, because Magician's Soul is just so powerful in this deck. And then the 1 Blue Boy for the Spellbook engine. And that's it for the monsters. Now for the spells, we're playing 3 copies of Mastery. This is basically your 3 extra copies of Servant. Sometimes if you already have a decent enough hand, you'll just go straight for Magister, because Magister I feel is better than Servant. He can summon from deck just like Servant. It's just you have to do it on your opponent's turn, but that's what I like. I'd rather make my plays on my opponent's turn. I don't want to make my board on my turn. Like I'm telling you guys, like I'm playing Pendulum's different. I want to make my board on my opponent's turn now. It's funner that way, and you can just get extra added value out of certain cards. Like think of it this way. Most people will automatically link the Absolute into the Vortex on their turn. Why not leave this on the board with your IP Masquerena, use her to link summon with this and any extra monster to summon Appaloosa or, you know, Unchained Abomination, and then summon out your Vortex to bounce your opponent's monster and keep the negation too. So you get more disruptions off the same exact cards just by being patient and not greedy. So yeah, I'm going to change you guys' mind. I'm going to change how you guys think of Pendulums with this deck. We have 3 copies of ZEFRA Providence. This is 1 card that gets you so much advantage. Providence is ridiculous. Arguably stronger than Mastery because of what it can do for me. Mastery can, you know, search, for example, any Endymion card, which is incredible, but I really love Providence. Obviously, ZEFRA is my favorite Pendulum archetype, and this card just does too much for this deck. It's incredible. It can equal Needle Fiber, it can equal Union Carrier, it can equal a Counter Trap, it can make so many crazy boards. It can even make Selene. If you draw this with a Zephyrath or an Oracle or a Terraforming, it makes Selene because Needle Fiber makes Selene, and you can even make Union Carrier. Just Buster Whelp. It's just so good. I played 3 copies of Pendulum Call. Pendulum Call is guaranteed 2 negations with a good hand. With a bad hand, it's guaranteed 2 interruptions, and it's guaranteed high or low scales in your absolute worst case scenario. Pin Claw Darkworm is still nice. You still have that interaction. 2 Duelist Alliance. I'm considering bumping it to 3 and putting in a Pendulum Halt, so I can have draw 2 at the end of my combo. I'm still on the fence, but Pendulum Halt's a really nice card. Instead of playing 3 copies of Oracle, I decided to play 2 and a Terraforming, so that if I drew this, it's the same thing as Oracle, and Oracle is extremely searchable anyways, but if it's 1 card that makes 3 spell counters for the Servant, or even for Magister, or for Reflection, or any card that needs spell counters like Abductor, this is 1 card that gets 3 spell counters. So I like it instead of playing just 3 actual copies of Oracle, and the list had enough space where I could just cut 1 Oracle for the Terraforming. I played 3 copies of Allure of Darkness, 2 Spellbook of Secrets, 1 Knowledge, and I still do like Dragon Shrine and Foolish. Dark Worm is just incredible in this deck. Dark Worm equals so many different boards. Getting a free body in the low scale, like Dragon Shrine plus ZEFRA Providence, or even Oracle of ZEFRA, is like a 2-card wombo combo. It's incredible, you guys. It's very, very powerful. And then the 1 ZEFRA Divine Strike to sum up the list. Spells don't really need an explanation. A lot of these you guys have seen in other decks. You know what they do. I really did a heavier explanation on the monsters because there's so many things I'm doing with this deck. Let me check timer. Alright, so I'm going to show the side deck real quick. Then I'll show the extra. We have 3 Dark Ruler No More, 3 Dinko Sekas, 3 Lava Golems. These are kind of like my bread and butters for side decking. 3 Evenly Match. I could side these almost against every single deck. I'm side decking the 1 Garuda. It's stronger against certain decks and weaker against others, and also it still has good synergy with your deck. You can bounce it off Endymion and reveal it in your hand, and bounce your opponent's entire special summon it back, and bounce it back off of even like for example Reflection. You could just keep looping it. It's really, really cool. It's just a powerful card, and it holds spell counters by itself. 1 red reboot from more back row decks, and also the Gaga Cowboy so that I can burn in time. Just in case, I'm stuck in my main phase 1 and they call time in round. You just want to activate Pin Call, Pendulum Summon Harmonizing with the level 4, and yeah, it's just bonkers. So the extra deck, I have the Crowley Link. This card's so easy to make. You can make it without even normal summoning, and that's incredible because you just keep either get this, search for your Blue Boy, and then normal your Blue Boy, and then do draw 2, and then you keep this so that it's a link material for Celine. Or if you already normal summon, you just use this for zones, and then you do the draw 2 after so that you can load spell counters and get more resources. Union Carrier and Needle Fiber. You can easily make Needle Fiber in this deck. White Wing, Harmonizing or tuners. Zefraxi can make any ZEFRA a tuner. You make Needle Fiber like nobody's business. Needle Fiber just goes straight into Celine. That's the sole purpose of playing Needle Fiber. Like I said, if I could find Shooting Rysar, I would be playing Shooting Rysar for my Needle Fiber. Because like I said, I want to make my boards on my opponent's turn. So there are certain cards like, alright, so for example, this should be Celine. But since I don't have it, it's kind of like a filler for Celine. And honestly, when it comes down to Dragster, I'd rather it just be Shooting Rysar. So this can be Celine, this can be Rysar. I'm going to continue with the extra deck because there's like just stuff that needs explanations. Cross Sheep is just incredible in this deck. If you summon like Odd-Eyes Vortex, for example, because also when you read of it, if a monster is special summoned, so you don't even have to like fusion summon for Vortex, you could just special summon Vortex to its zone, and then Vortex will trigger this. This can just reborn something that you discarded off Pendulum Call. So it has cool synergy out of just being an incredible link too. ZEFRA Metaltron, you could swap it for Celine, honestly, but I still like it because it is a ZEFRA. We have Boar Sword, Unchained Abomination, and Appaloosa for the Link Force. So think of it this way. So honestly, while this is still good, this is what I would do if I had certain cards. So this would be Celine, this would be IP Masquerena, and this would be shooting Rysar Dragon. So that you use Needle Fiber, you can either make Celine or have it to make Rysar, or if you just pin summon your hand out, you can just keep Needle Fiber there. You can use it to tag out into Shooting Rysar in your opponent's turn. You can just do so many crazy plays. It's just incredible. Honestly, this deck is just so flexible. It's just, man, I wish that these were those cards, but they're still good. Like, this is still a good card. Its effect is incredible. Dawn Drexler's a good card. Metaltron's a good card. But I'd rather this be IP, Celine, and like Rysar. Buster Whelp, that's really what Union Carrier is there for. You could play other targets, but it just requires more bricks. These, I prefer to summon Abomination and Appaloosa on my opponent's turn off IP Masquerena. The board's protected by even Dark Ruler No More because you have ZEFRA Divine Strike, so there's really no counters because you make a board that basically can't be super polyed, and they have Dark Ruler No More, you have the counter trap for it, so they basically have to have Spear Mode at that point, or like Lava Golem. We have Omega because, we don't have Savage right now, but honestly, it's sometimes better than Savage, but honestly, like, again, this could be Board Load Savage, this could be Shooting Rysar, this could be Celine, but sometimes making this off of Shooting Rysar lets you just disrupt your opponent even more because you sync on their turn after you negated so many cards and take away their cards, especially when they save their best cards for last. Like, they save shit off Fusion, for example, when you don't have Buster Whelp, and you take it out their hand. We have the Odd Eyes package, the Meteor Burst, the Vortex, and the Absolute, and then Abyss Dweller because it's super easy to make in this deck. It's staple. So some of your ending boards, let's pretend this is IP Masquerena. You're going to use the Harmonizing to make the Absolute, or just 2 level 7s. You're going to leave the Absolute and the IP Masquerena there, and you're going to link the IP Masquerena and this So when you have like Magister, for example, because you don't always have to make Selene. Sometimes you could just do it like that. Like Magister's effect, special summon anything you want from your deck, Jackal King, Endymion, you name it. And then after you're done with that, you'll use the IP, this, and this to link into the Appaloosa on your opponent's turn, or the Unchained Abomination, because when you negate and destroy it, you can use him to pop another card. So either or, summon this, effective absolute in the graveyard. You're protected from callback because you have negate, so they can't stop this. You're going to special this in any zone because Master Roll 5 now. And then this effect's going to bounce one of your opponent's face-up attack monsters and have a negation. So it's 2 interruptions in 1 card on top of this being protected from IP. It's just super broken. Like this is just a different way to play Pendulums. Like there's so many ways to play this deck. But yeah, like I don't have time to explain everything, but like you guys are getting the gist. Like I'm setting up like Shooting Rizar, IP Masquerena, you know, even Servant Selene. I believe she's a quick effect if I'm not mistaken. You're just doing so many plays on your opponent's turn. Shooting Rizar. You can even summon Shooting Rizar on your turn and use his effect, for example, just to dump like a spell counter holder. Like you can dump Magister if you didn't already have Magister. Dump Magister from your deck to your grave, and then, you know, reduce his level for you to do a certain synchro summon play. And then you can bring the Magister back off of the Selene, and then Magister's live because Selene already has spell counters. It's like there's just so much you could do with this deck. It's so crazy, it's so flexible, it's so fun. Yeah, this deck is crazy, yo. I've always had so much fun with Pendulums. Like when it comes to this deck, I know what I'm doing. Like I got the experience, I got the tops to back it up. So if you guys don't want to trust my word, trust my tops, trust my experience. But thank you so much for watching this profile. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content. I'm gonna say a quick little prayer and then I'm gonna be out of here. God bless you guys. Lord, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jesus. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Thank you, Yahweh. Amen. All right, you guys, deuces as well.